All right, so round one at the Australian Open is in the books. So welcome to the round one roundup here on the Slice. Carlos Alcaraz is through. Novak Djokovic is through in a tight one versus Prizmic. We will get into that. And our Canadian main hope, Felix Auger-Aliassime, is also through. Really, no big upsets on the men's or the women's at all in the first round. But we're going to look at all the results. We're going to look at the winners, the losers, Canadian corner, and round two matchups where there might start to be some upsets. So let's see. Welcome to the Slice. Let's get into it. Well, hello, mate. Welcome. Top of the morning to you. That's all I got as far as an Australian accent. You're welcome for me stopping. What did you think? 3 days of tennis action. 3 days. We had a Sunday start, so Saturday night here in North America. 3 days of tennis for the first round. Spread it out a bit. I'm not a fan of that. I like it when it's all condensed and there's just more good matches. But the people in tennis want to make that money, so they spread it out. And make our lives longer as tennis media, but that's okay because we got lots to talk about. So let's start with the winners, and really the big storyline, I think, from besides you having to subscribe, thank you for subscribing. If you have not, we're on the road to 20,000 subscribers, and you can help us by clicking the subscribe button. I appreciate you. Djokovic drops a set and wins a tight one versus young Prizmic. What do you think? How many times have we seen this? Drops a set to a younger player in the first or second round at a major. Doesn't matter. Doesn't seem to matter. But Prizmic, very impressive. Very good athlete. Had his thigh taped up, looked like a warrior. And, was giving Djokovic a taste of his own medicine. After the match, Djokovic said, I felt like I was playing a younger me. So, yeah, that's a great showing for Prizmic. He'll have that to kind of add to his arsenal. Any questions about Djokovic's level? Not really for me. We know he was coming off his wrist forearm soreness, and maybe he didn't have his best stuff tonight or that night. If what we do is look at the stats from that one, what we can see is that Djokovic had, pulling it up here, he had 40 winners, 49 unforced errors. So obviously not his most clinical, kind of typical Novak Djokovic game. Win first serve percentage was only 66%, 62% on the second serve. So he really didn't have his real first serve there either, seemingly. But he gets through, and that's what you're just trying to do in these first rounds. You're trying to work your way into the tournament, and Djokovic did that, getting a good win, but almost 4 hours on court. So that's something. 4 hours on court. Add that to the total as he goes through the tournament, as he plays other guys who might have less or more time on court than him. That's Carlos Alcaraz, looking jacked as always. Takes out Richard Gasquet. Straight sets. The first set was tight, tiebreaker, and it was fun. Tight and fun. I'll never say it again. The Richard Gasquet style, obviously, just impeccable. Carlos Alcaraz, the firepower, the pizzazz, the energy, unbelievable. And then playing against each other was very wild to see. Very cool. Lots of amazing ball striking. And then obviously Alcaraz just too young, too much sauce for Richard, and that makes total sense. You can't blame the guy at all. So he's playing well into the tournament. And as we said before, he hasn't played here really as the Alcaraz we know. The last time was in 2022. That was kind of before he really became the dog on tour. So Alcaraz gets through. Other winners are Jannik Sinner, 3 sets over Botic van de Zandschulp. Andre Rublev, 5-set marathon win over Sebuth Wild. We had circled that as a first-round banger, and that turned out to be an amazing match. Big-time match, big-time scare for Rublev, but he is through. Sasha Zverev looks strong over Koepfer amongst all the allegations, the charges, the Netflix series covering him, people being outraged that the Netflix series is covering him. He just continues to be one of the most controversial figures in tennis, but he keeps to win. He keeps on winning, and he continues. He looks good to me, so he's going to be a guy that I don't think people are going to want to play. Raducanu, good win over Shelby Rogers. Good to see her back getting wins. Maybe she'll do something. It's just crazy. You just forget. Oh yeah, she won the U.S. Open in 2021. So we're gonna see how she does for the rest of this tournament. But that's good to see. Swiatek, all the other top seeds making it through. Let's just go to that now. Let's just go through some of the big results from day 1 through day 3 in round 1. So yes, Jannik Sinner 3 sets over Botic van de Zandschulp. Maria Sakkari 2 straight sets win. She's got to be loving that because that's not always the case for her. Djokovic 4 sets over Prizmic in 4 hours and 1 minute, as we talked about. Sabalenka 6-0, 6-1. Thanks for coming out. Bagel and a breadstick. Krejcikova 3-set win, and here's the Rublev marathon. Didn't actually take that long. 3 hours and 42 minutes for 5 sets. Rublev threw in that, and Tiafoe threw in 4 as well. Day 2, Coco Gauff 6-3, 6-0 over, and Stefanos Tsitsipas gets off to a good start, winning in 4 sets over Zizou Bergs, who's a lucky loser. And Tsitsipas had that amazing over the net shot. Under 3 hours, 4 sets for him. That's got to feel good. Raonic unfortunately pulls out with a hip injury in a match versus de Minaur that he had his teeth in. He had already won the first set, split the first 2 sets. So you hate to see that for our guy, Milos Raonic. Caroline Garcia takes out Naomi Osaka in her return to pro tennis. You can't really blame her for that. That's Caroline Garcia. She's a serious baller, and Osaka is coming back after having a child, so that's pretty amazing. Medvedev comes through after his opponent pulls out. Vekic through, Jabeur through, Felix Auger-Aliassime, our guy, through. We'll come back to that. Day 3, last night, Swiatek through over Kenin. Battle of the major champions, 7-6, 6-2. Holger Rune through after dropping a set in the second. Rybakina through over Pliskova. And young Carlos Alcaraz. Too much sauce for Richard Gasquet, no doubt. Kasparov through easily 6-3, 6-1, or 6-1, 6-3, 6-1. Azarenka through, Zverev through. Pegula through over our Canadian Rebecca Marino. So, yeah, like we said, not a lot of upsets. Dimitrov through, Kokkinakis through. They will play in the next round. That's going to be fire. So let's go to what I would call Canadian corner. Felix Auger-Aliassime wins a 5-set war over Dominic Thiem. 4 hours, 59 minutes. Not what Felix would want to do to start his campaign, but his ranking has dropped, and Dominic Thiem's obviously a terrible opponent to draw in the first round, as he is. We all know what he's done. He's not back there yet, but he's incrementally getting there. I honestly think Dominic Thiem's just had a ton of bad luck playing guys like Felix Auger-Aliassime in the first round. Felix was up 5-2 in the 3rd set tiebreaker, trying to close it out in 3 sets, wasn't able to, lost the next set 7-5, and then came back strong in the 5th, winning 6-3. So good win for Felix, who hadn't won a match yet in 2024, only played 1 tournament after having a very bad 2023. So we'll see if he can build on that. He plays, we'll look at the draw for day 2, or for round 2, but he plays somewhat an unranked player and an unranked Frenchman next, which hopefully should be a smooth win for him. And then he'll play, I believe, Daniil Medvedev. So obviously that's as hard as it gets, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But so far, Felix through, and Canadians love that. Who's not through is Denis Shapovalov, out in 3 sets to Mencic, an 18-year-old 6'2" hammer from Czechia, I believe, who's ranked 142 in the world. And those are the types of guys you can easily lose to. I've talked about this before on TSN last year. I talked about how there's no easy rounds in these majors, despite what people think. A guy like Mencic, He won 3 matches in qualifying, so he's got match experience recently, day after day after day, winning confidence. Coming into the first round to play Shapo, who's just searching, grasping for his own confidence, and Mensah can just bomb it at 6'2". That's just not a recipe for easing into a tournament for Denis Shapovalov. And he had 51 unforced errors, 28 winners. So obviously the wrong side of that ratio. That's been emblematic of his struggles over the last year and a bit. So yeah, Shapovalov continues to struggle after coming back from injury. So you can't, I mean, that's just one of these matches where when your ranking drops, these are the types of, I mean, you could play qualifier at any level, obviously, but Mensah, a guy like that coming out off the Challenger Tour with the confidence he has, when he hit 31 winners to 22 unforced errors and bombed his serve, that's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous. So Shapovalov out, unfortunately for Canadians. Thoughts on that? Would love to see him. Layla, solid win over Bialek in the first round for her. And Raonic, as we talked about, out versus ADM with a hip injury. And Rebecca Marino out to Jess Pekula, 6-2, 6-4. So Canadians, our 2 biggest hopes before the tournament were Layla and Felix, and they're both through, so that's a good sign. But the field, from other years where we've had like 6 or 7 players, playing well, that's not the case this year. So we're in the sophomore slump era now for the Canadians, and we're just going to see how good Felix and Layla can do at this year's tournament. Sound good? Sounds good. Okay, round 2. Round 2, maybe there'll be some more upsets. Like we said, almost no upsets in round 1. Everyone's smooth sailing through, but some matches that I'm definitely circling for round 2. Swiatek Collins on the women's side. That's Collins, she can always surprise. She can always hurt people with the power that she brings. Ostapenko versus Ayla Tomljanovic. I believe they have drama in the past. I think it's Tomljanovic and Ostapenko. Let me know if that's true. I didn't have time to look it up this morning, but I'm fairly sure that they have a lot of sauce. So we'll see if that is uneventful or eventful. Jabeur versus Andreeva. Young Andreeva, amazing player versus Jabeur, who's been fairly quiet the last few majors, really since, 2022 Wimbledon. That should be good. On the men's side, we've got Eubanks versus Rublev. That's going to be entertaining for sure. We've got Dimitrov versus the Cock. The Australians are going to be loving that match. Dimitrov's playing well. We've got Tommy Paul versus Jack Draper. That's a great matchup for round 2. Not if you're Tommy Paul, but that's an amazing matchup. And then we've got Alcaraz versus Sonego, which can always be entertaining for sure with the way that Sonego can play. With Djokovic, who do we got? I'm just going to pull up the draw here for Djokovic. If you give me a second. Djokovic will play, Poprin, who is a big hitting Australian, as you know, and he's Australian, so the crowd, that could get interesting with the crowd being against Djokovic, as they seem to do. We saw one guy in the crowd doing this to Djokovic. People thought it's ridiculous. Other people thought, hey, he's paying a ticket. He can do whatever he wants to players in the crowd, which is the camp that I seem to fall in. But that'll be a lot of fun. Australia versus Novak Djokovic, except for the Djokovic faithful who will be there in the bullpen for him. And then at third round, if and when Djokovic gets through Poprin, he'll play either Monfils or Etcheverry, who took out Murray in a defeating, kind of depressing 6-4, 6-2, 6-2 win. And then Wawrinka lost in 5 sets to Manarino after being up 2-1. So there you got it. That's a round 1 roundup. Solid play, no big upsets, no huge storylines, I would say. Maybe round 2 will give us more of that. Will give us more upsets, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being right back here for that. Thank you for subscribing. Follow me on Twitter at @TheSliceSteven to get tweets from matches that I'm watching, things we're doing, Canadians that are happening, and we'll keep you up to date. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time here on The Slice.